Hi, I'm CJ and this is my RC channel.
Not much left. Well, steering arms, camber links, shock absorbers. So we're into bag 6. Okay. K4R, which I would assume is for right and 4 degrees. And 4L. Just making sure these are all the same size. Sometimes it's really helpful to lay all this stuff out. And everything is the same length. Those are for the rear, these are for the front. Let's see if there's a left or a right. No markings. Just checking the setup here. So you got to get these little bushings into this block here. Oh, I don't need that in there at the moment. That's no big deal. Let that drop out. Get that started. Move down here. I forgot a spacer up there. Now this is where you got to be careful. One of many places. You can see that the bushing that we put in, there's a pair high and low. It protrudes through the plastic down here. You don't want to tighten this down to the point where you're pressing that and expanding it, because you'll never get it out. And it'll also tighten up and cause binding. So this is something you're just going to want to snug down. Just a touch down. Because it's going to spin on those bushings anyway, and the plastic piece keeps the tension. So now the spacer we're putting in here, Depending on how we want to tune our suspension, we may swap that out for a taller spacer, or we may put spacers under these two here, here, and here, and here to change the angle of our camber connector, or the oh god, sorry, it's late. So you want this, you don't want this thing jiggling around, but you don't want it to be stiff at all. I'm just talking like 15-degree turn on the screwdriver at a time, just a little bit. That's great. And we're going to be going for the furthest out of the two. This is our steering linkage. So we're going to be using one of these out here, and then we're going to be using a standard one on the inside. I'm looking at the back end right there. Okay. Nice and smooth. I haven't run into anything that has needed to be like shaved or milled or adjusted in some way to make it work. So that's great. I mean, that definitely speaks a lot for this kit, considering it's all plastic. Now, what we need here is our two these long grub screws. Are these all the same size? Nope, I was wondering because that one seemed long there, so. Okay, so these kingpins have this little cutaway in here, and we're gonna use these grub screws and drive them down this hole here, and they will get in that groove and keep that kingpin from coming loose on us. Basically just run them down until they're flush with the bottom, and that should have that kingpin locked in place, and we have a nice smooth movement here. This is one really fluid suspension, and that is a huge deal. That is a big part of building a nice car, is that everything is fluid and smooth, and you don't have to go around reaming things and tweaking to try to make your suspension move freely. For being just right out of the box, I'm very impressed, and I'm really happy. I'm definitely getting my money's worth on this kit. Wait a second. Don't tell me. Yep, got them backwards. One is long, one is short. I put them in the wrong way. go. Perfect, nice and smooth. If I had started this at a more reasonable hour, this would be done in a day. At least everything except, you know, all the electronics. And I would have had some of that done too. I just didn't get started on this till almost 6 p.m. If I'd started, you know, around noon or 10 in the morning, done. One day build. Not a lot of kits will do that. Okay, let's do turnbuckles. Now, for the 100th time, I'm going to explain doing turnbuckles. Okay, now, first off, we want to make sure we got these right. So, these two slightly longer ones are going to be our steering linkages. And I forgot to put this on. Okay, so we're going to need 2 of these for our connections there, and 2 for back there. Now, I'm probably not going to do it in the case of the steering because I want to be able to get to these nuts, the square pieces, but the little hatch marks that you see here, that lets you know the direction of the twist. So what you want to do is set up your turnbuckles so they all face the same direction. I always do mine facing to the left-hand side of the car. That's just how I started doing it. And I do it that way on all my cars. That way I know that, you know, one direction tightens them, the other direction loosens them, and it's the same from left to right and front to rear. So having it be consistent makes it a lot easier to tune and adjust your suspension. So I'm going to need, let's see, I've got, these are going to be for the camber links, and I need 4 more for the steering links. So, watching me assemble turnbuckles is probably about as boring as it gets. I'm going to go ahead and stop the video here. You know, the reason that I'm not going to follow the normal pattern on the turnbuckles is because these are longer than the others. These are for our steering, and they are set with the adjusting feature all the way to one side. Now, it would be nice if they had put a hatch mark on one side here and the other one like that. That way we could have aligned these so that the adjustable part is as far to the outside, because that's the way we want to do it. If we do them like this, it's going to become very hard to get a wrench on here because it's going to get tucked in close to the chassis. Whereas if it's like this, the adjustable part is going to be further out and out in the open where you can get to it and get a bigger swing on it with a wrench. So that's the logic behind that. Anyway, I'm done. Big time. Okay, I went ahead and made the turnbuckles. I have not adjusted them. But as you can see, having these turnbuckles with the adjuster side to the outside definitely makes it a lot easier to get at them. For these I'm doing, and for the rears, they will all face in the same direction as they should. So our front suspension is complete, other than making adjustments to line things up and tune, but as you can see, we have nice smooth suspension. If I hold one side tight, the other side has virtually no movement in it. It's very slop free. There are a few places I may, like these front arms here, I'm going to try to put in some small spacers. I think I've got some that are small enough to take up that slack. I'm going to see about body size. I may move things forward or backwards a little bit, but we'll see. That'll get crossed later. So it's on to the rear suspension now. And we are on page 16. We're in the existing bags. We don't need to open anything new yet. Now, I would start on the body painting already, but I want to wait until I've got this built up with body posts and I've got a set of wheels and tires on it. That way I can hang the body over those posts and make sure that I'm choosing the correct spot, because this car, the body is not going to have any divoted spaces that would work for this vehicle. In fact, those bodies probably don't have any on them at all because there's so many different touring cars. So let's see. Okay, we need to set up our rear hubs. And so we have L2 and R2. I'm assuming the 2 is for degrees, maybe some toe in. Put in a bearing, drop in a spacer, push in another bearing. Same thing over here. I've also already made my turnbuckles for this side, for the rear. Make sure that when you do yours that you use this type here that doesn't have a top cap. Those are to be on the outers for both front and rear. That way the rims don't come in contact with the top of a cap. I guess the clearances are tight there. So bear that in mind. And this will go together considerably faster than our front end. Just confirm something here. Okay. Now, let me just check my build sheets and see which of these two positions the camber link is going to go into. Okay, they are using the inner link. And that seems to be almost universal. Yeah. 4 out of 5 build sheets all use that location for the camber link. I'm definitely going to have to experiment with that at some point just to see what's going on there. Now we have a 1 mil spacer, and actually, excuse me, these are 2 mil spacers. We're going to be putting those underneath the ball stud here, and that is per instructions. Again, that's one thing I want to confirm. Okay, they're using 3 millimeters, and see, that's another reason you want to use this type of cap, is that if you use this type, you wouldn't have the option to put as many spacers if you wanted to, because you'd run up against the rim. Okay, there's a lot of different setups, being a lot of different changes here. This seems to be the one setting that has the most divergence, is this rear camber link location. Some people are running no spacers at all. Some people are running 1 millimeter. Some are running 2, and one of them is running 3 millimeters. So I'm going to go with the stock 2 to start, and then that is something that I will experiment with quickly. Now, before I do that, I think I'm going to go ahead and no, I don't want to pop those in now. That's going to be more work. It is hard to get them pressed in up here, up in the front. You're definitely going to have to do that carefully. The way I did it, and I know this is a coarse way to go, but it seemed like it would do the least destruction, and it certainly seemed to. I could not press them in with my bare hands. So what I ended up doing was taking a large pair of channel lock pliers and going from below and above, and it took very little pressure. It didn't damage the plastic in any way, because it was such light pressure was required, because there's so much leverage there. So that worked out great. Now I'm going to get some longer ball studs, because with a 2 millimeter spacer, there's not a lot of material there, not a lot of threads going in here. I don't have any at this time, I don't believe. I'm going to take a quick look though, and if not, I'll just put some on order. I did not have anything in my parts collection. Seems to be the one thing I don't have spares on. In any event, I went ahead and ordered some. 3Racing makes some really nice upgrades for the ball studs. These are actually quite nice. They're very well polished. They're super smooth and precise. Some ball studs can have a lot of like rings and such, and they are just not very good. You have to polish them. Back in the day, that was something we always used to do, would be taking the ball stud, putting it in Dremel, in the chuck of the Dremel, spinning it up at high speeds, using really fine sandpaper to kind of take the edges away, and then using some metal polish to, you know, really smooth them up. But you had to be careful you didn't take away too much material and make them loose. But it was the only way to get good functioning ball studs, because the molding process on most of them back in the day was just rubbish. The ones that they offer separately are aluminum, and they're Teflon coated. They use something similar to the nitrile coating on shock shafts. So and they didn't have the chrome steel ones anyway, so I went ahead and got 2 sets of the Teflon coated aluminum ones. They've got in the standard length and 9 millimeter long length. So I will go ahead and swap all of them out later, but these in particular, because I want to be able to go up to 3 millimeters and go down as well if I want to. And I can't go to 3 millimeters as it stands right now. There just wouldn't be enough threads, and I don't even like it the way it is. If I wasn't worried about handling and wanting to start with the baseline, I would go to 1 just to make sure there's enough thread into the plastic here, but these aren't very deep anyway. So in any event, that's what I'm going to do. And the delivery people just dropped this off for me. This is the ESC that I'm going to be running. It was about $50. This is a stock class Blinky style speed control from Hobbywing. I figured I'd go ahead and run Hobbywing since I've already got their control boxes and whatnot, and as I said, the price was right. So that's good to go. So hopefully I'll get to run this car this weekend if I can get everything done. So now I need to put in a grub screw to anchor the kingpin on this side. There's no need to over tighten those, just twist them in until they touch down onto the kingpin, and that groove will prevent the kingpin from going anywhere. It actually recesses a bit, but so about 1 millimeter recessed, you're gonna run into the kingpin. At least that's the way it did on mine. And now I can try to press this on here. Oh, wow, got it. Now, as for this one, it's kind of hard to get your finger in there. I just used the flat front of the pliers as a surface to press with when I did the fronts. There we go. So that is done. There we go. Okay. Rear suspension is done, except for shocks, of course. Okay, now they've got us moving on to shocks. I'm gonna go past the shock absorbers because I want to get the body posts as soon as I can, so I can move on to getting that set up, so I can start painting a body. Okay, so eight. Okay, I need to find the servo. And I'm going to be using a servo that I've already got. This is a Sanwa Airtronics. It's an ER5-961. It's a nice fast servo. It was a high-speed servo in its day. This is quite dated at this point, very old servo, but it works great. It continues to do its thing for me. Very smooth, metal gears. So I'm gonna throw it into action one more time onto the breech. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pause up for a moment, guys, and trim all this stuff off the trees. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please click like and please subscribe to my channel.